The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani.
Accident or injury, call Jacob Emrani. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mace. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason. That's Sue Kalinsky. This is the show where we talk about everything happening in the world of pop culture. Have you seen the show, The 4 Seasons on Netflix? It is so good. Lang Fisher, Tracey Wigfield, two of the showrunners are going to be joining us. In the meantime, Sue Ballou, what's going on? What's new in the world of Sue?
The world of Sue. Not a hell of a lot. Got another try coming up in July. So that is exciting. Training starts at the end of the month.
Nice.
And doing the doc still, editing. That's been fun. And
of course, the Culture Pop Podcast.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
That is ever present.
Exactly. So you pulled some stuff today. I've got something. What do you got?
So I don't know if you know about this.
Okay.
I was shocked when I read it.
Okay.
But a group of there's a writer, director, and producer have put together a musical called Luigi, about Luigi Mangione, and it's going to be in San Francisco for 4 or 5 nights. It's sold out. It's going to premiere June 13th. The creative team claims that it's not. They're not glorifying violence. It's just the absurdity of who he is and all of the viral fame that's come his way. But it also has to do with the fact, I guess the inspiration for doing it was that he, Diddy, and Sam Bankman-Fried were all in the same detention center in Brooklyn at the same time.
Okay.
So
maybe it's not outright celebrating this guy that killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, right? Maybe it's more about the relationship between the two and juxtaposing Sean Diddy Combs with Sam Bankman-Fried with Luigi Mangione, and maybe that's what they're going for, as opposed to celebrating what these guys did. Is that possible?
I mean, it's possible, but I just the idea that it's a musical.
Yeah, no, that's weird. Yeah.
All the razzmatazz, I murdered somebody. I ripped someone off. I, have sexual, charges against me. I beat the crap out of my girlfriend,
Yeah, right.
It's like freak-ons, freak-ins, whatever it is. It's like, it just seems, it just feels like it's, I just think it's kind of egregious.
I think so too. Here's the thing. I mean, this guy who is very good looking, I will grant him that. He's a good-looking guy, kind of hot by my standards, but he is a cold-blooded killer. I mean, he shot a CEO on the streets of Manhattan in cold blood. I don't understand where this love for Luigi Mangione is even coming from. Are people just ignoring the incident itself?
Well, there's always going to be people like this. I mean, look at Gary Gilmore. Look at all the women that hung out outside the prison. I love you, Gary Gilmore, wrote him letters. There are people that, I'm sure there were women that thought Hitler was a good catch,
Yeah, right. Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll tell you, I think, honestly, there are incidents like this. Like, for example, there was a musical, Stephen Sondheim did a musical called Assassins. I never saw it, but I would love to see it because I've become a big Sondheim fan. But in the musical, each assassin from history. So Lee Harvey Oswald and Sirhan Sirhan and all these guys who've been, each one gets a song sort of telling their story. Now, that's different, I think, than a musical that celebrates Mangione.
Yeah, I mean, if that's in fact, I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. I would just think that the family of the executive that was murdered, and anybody who was under the wrath of Diddy and all of the threats that that came their way, the fact that they're making like art out of this,
right?
And I just, I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
in a related story, how much baby oil do you keep at the house?
you know what? I keep some, but for different reasons.
For different reasons, right? No freak offs at your house.
No freak offs. It's for taking makeup off.
By the way, is it not just
make off?
Is it not obscene, the shit that he was up to? It's just shocking.
Yeah.
And I think people knew about it.
Oh, so many people knew about it, and celebrities knew about it because there were celebrities that were a part of it.
Right.
And he threatened a lot of these young women too. He threatened them. He threatened their families. He certainly threatened his girlfriend.
Oh God. Yeah.
You know,
awful shit. Yeah, that trial is just I have trouble watching stuff like that. Like, I don't like to go down into the details of awful situations. Like, I know baby oil. I don't want to really know past baby oil when it comes to Diddy. Like, I'll stop at the baby oil and then let the jury hear the rest of it because I don't need that shit in my head. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm right there with you.
Like, whenever there's a sex scandal, John Ireland, who I work with on the radio, he knows every single detail down to the very, very finest point. And he just loves going down those rabbit holes and finding the interesting stuff. Meanwhile, I'm like, I would rather be oblivious. I don't need that in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that somebody preys on people. You know, they seek out these vulnerable people.
Yeah.
And they cause so much damage. I mean, this woman, you know, she's married now and she's pregnant, his ex-girlfriend, but just having to live with the memory. I mean, I think of very mild things that have happened in my life that upset me.
Right.
You know?
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? That, you know, has nothing to do with this subject. And I could never imagine having to live the rest of my life living with the shadow of that. And how and how so many people know that. Like, so many people saw her getting beaten up in that hotel hallway.
Yeah, it's
dragged.
just horrific.
And that was just some of it.
Yeah, right. Today, I guess they were shown still photographs, only the jury, still photographs from the freak off. And I read that the jury members are just like cringing at the whole thing. They're just like horrified by it. So I'm sure he's going to lose this case.
Right. And then, you know, I think of, and it kind of makes me think of Paul Manafort. I remember when Paul Manafort was in prison and he wasn't able to get his hair dyed. And and then the first time you saw him, he had white hair. Yep. And Diddy, you know, he's on trial now. He's got white hair.
Well, you know, don't you think it like gives him a little mature look, I suppose. Like, I'm a different Diddy. I'm gray-haired Diddy. I just did all the Diddy stuff. But now I've got different hair.
Yeah, he's gray-haired, not gray area Diddy.
Yes. So I got one for you.
Okay.
Jamie Lee Curtis. I should say Academy Award winner Jamie Lee Curtis. She, I guess, now you saw her in 60 Minutes, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And on 60 Minutes, I didn't see this live, but on 60 Minutes, apparently she described a situation where a DP, a director of photography, commented on her appearance while they were shooting something. And in reaction, Jamie Lee Curtis, apparently it was like bags under the eyes or something. Jamie Lee Curtis went out and got plastic surgery at a very young age, like she's 25 years old, in a reaction to this. And she regrets it. She's like, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I think that people are rightfully very sensitive about their appearance. And I had an agent once who a legitimate, like a really good agent, when I was in my 20s, said, we got to do something about your nose. I'm like, what do you mean? I got somebody you should see, and we'll talk about your nose. I'm like, we're not talking about my nose. Are you talking about getting a nose? I'm not getting a nose job under any circumstance. So I withstood it. And I always thought, Leno's got the chin and Letterman has the teeth. And these are the things that make people distinctive and interesting. They make them stand out. I got a big beak. Good for me. Did you ever have this sense that you needed to have something fixed or done?
I had a mole that it's actually over here, and it's lightened now.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got my early headshots, an agent said to me, you should think about getting that removed. And I said, if that's the reason I'm not getting cast in something, there's something really wrong with me as an actress.
Yes.
Because that is ridiculous. But I, like Kenny Ober, my old boyfriend, he had a space between his teeth it was actually after I met him.
Yeah.
Someone told him that he should get it filled in, and he did.
He did.
He did. But I look at old pictures of him, and it was like, it just gave him so
There's
much
a charm
character.
to it. It makes him real.
Yeah, it was cool. It's like, like you think of like Terry Thomas, the actor,
He was
kind of, that was like a signature of his. But I'm so surprised that at 25, and I know that the film she was working on, ironically, was Perfect. Which
ironically, where she played an aerobics instructor, right?
Yes. Which reminds me of Substance, the movie.
Yes.
And at that obviously such an extreme, but I'm so surprised that did she not talk to her mom? I mean, did she not say to Janet Leigh, really, should I be doing this? I'm just so surprised that because she didn't give any kind of backstory. She just said that she went and did it. And she and she regretted it, but I don't know. I mean, if I were ever to do anything that extreme, I would have some conversations with people about it. And say, what do you think?
I'm very sensitive about one thing,
and
it is my eye, my left eye. So I had Bell's palsy on this side of my face 20 years ago, and now I get what I would call a scrunchy eye. So if I smile or I get excited, this eye closes, right? So I'm due for it. I go and get Botox just right here, just around this eye, because I want it to open and not close every time. But I'm so sensitive about it. I see pictures of myself with, this eye closed, and it bothers me so much. But I went and got Botox because of it. And it's because people online, when they see pictures of me, have commented, what's wrong with your eye? Did this guy have a stroke? I'm like, it gets in my head. And then I'm like, I better go see Dr. Aziz today and get shot up.
Now, is there anything else that you could do that's more extreme that you're not doing because you won't go that far? Like Botox?
I'm sure there's a surgery that you can do. There's a surgery I could do to open this eye a little bit more. I'm not going to go to that length, but like 3 shots of Botox or 4 shots of Botox around my eye reduces it. But it's always in my head, like, my eye is scrunchy eye.
Yeah.
I'm getting scrunchy eye right now.
Yeah.
We all got something. What's yours? What are you sensitive about?
I'm sensitive about my neck, and like when I take pictures sometimes, see that? See that crinkly?
Yeah.
Old lady chest.
Well, but can't you just get a moisturizer? I'm no expert.
It's you certainly aren't an expert. Is there a cream that just makes that go away?
I see all the commercials where they just put this under that, and if
those stupid pictures.
Plexaderm.
Yeah,
and the picture is always
it probably lasts for like 5 secones, and then you got to keep on putting up. You need like a drip in your head on your face. I mean, I don't really have anything that really bothers me, except, I mean, that's just getting older. That's not like a imperfection that I have.
Right. Right.
Not
well,
really.
Good,
not
good
really.
for you. Good for you. Well, I got scrunchy eye, so keep one eye on it. The other one will be scrunched. All right. Hey, listen, if you are watching right now on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can leave us a comment, leave us a review. Maybe you can point out other imperfections that we have from just watching. Like, it's not just your eye, Mason. If you are listening on Apple or on Spotify, subscribe to the show. Leave us a rating, a 5-star rating, hopefully, and a good review. And if you've got a friend that would appreciate the show, make sure you tell them about it. All right, here we go. Our guests today have written and created, along with Tina Fey, the Netflix series The Four Seasons, starring Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Coleman Domingo. Such a great cast. Lang Fisher, Tracey Wigfield. Lang and Tracey, how you guys doing?
We're good.
Good. So we love the show. Love the show. So good. So smart. It really is terrific. You guys and Tina are the showrunners on this. I'm curious, how did this whole thing come together? I know it's based on a 1981 Alan Alda film, but what made this a great limited series for you guys to work on?
Well, so Lang and Tina and I have known each other for a long time. We were both writers on 30 Rock, is how we met her. And Tina was wanting to do a show that she would star in, and Lang and I were trying to come up with ideas with her of what it should be, and we all wanted it to be something that was kind of a departure from 30 Rock, something that felt more human, more grounded, and just a little bit of a different tone. And Tina kept talking about this movie, The Four Seasons, that I think she had tried to get the rights for years ago and really loved. Lang and I had not seen it. So then Lang and I watched it. And very quickly we all kind of felt like, oh, well, we should just do that as a show, because it has a cool premise to it. It's, you're catching these people over the 4 seasons of the year, but you also, there's a vacation element to it. It has like a fun but very human scale inciting incident where out of these 3 couples, one of them divorces and starts dating a younger woman. So it felt like, a lot of the themes we wanted to talk about and the show we wanted to do could exist within this.
What I love about it is so relatable. And it's not only relatable to the midlife part, but also Ginny's friends part. I have a friend that I grew up with who married a guy 20 years older than her when she was in her 30s. And I remember being in her apartment. He was a wealthy guy, and it wasn't like, sugar daddy kind of stuff. I mean, she really was in love with him. But he was a partner in a law firm. So he was like really an adult, And I remember hanging out in their apartment in Manhattan, a gorgeous apartment. And me and my friends, we would be smoking pot and just being like total, like ridiculous and silly. And he'd be like sitting in the same room, like on the couch, he'd be reading the Wall Street Journal. And he was just so serious. And I would think to myself, what is going through his head hanging out with these idiots, And that scene when Nick is hanging out with her friends, and you wondered, what I really loved is the juxtapose of his friends having a great time and he being there feeling so displaced. And I was he thinking like, oh, I am so at the wrong party. And it kind of made me feel like, is he going to end this relationship?
Right.
Because of that.
Right.
Which obviously he didn't.
Well, it was interesting because even talking to Steve Carell, who plays the character, he's like, I think on this trip, he really misses Anne. Like he misses her in this moment. And he loves Ginny, but he is missing his old life. And he's kind of the king of the other group. Like he is like sort of like the guy who makes everybody do everything. And he he gets their vibe. He gets that they're competitive and they're like, they like to drink and they, have this like very sort of like razzing each other energy. And then like this sort of gentle younger group that's like vegan and doesn't drink and they're sort of like really squishy and lovey with each other. He's just like, I don't understand this. I don't like it. I don't understand it. And it's like everything he thinks is cool is not cool to them. And like, I don't think he's used to feeling very uncool. But it was interesting talking to the actor and him saying, I feel like the character misses his ex-wife, while he's on this trip.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up one other thing, because I've written on shows where I was like the oldest person in the room. And there were times where I would pitch stuff, and I've probably 5-6 times a day I would hear, I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about.
So it's so demoralizing when that happened. I mean, it happens with us and our assistant, and we're in our 40s, but this happened not in this room, because this room is everybody's old. Like everyone's like in their in their 50s.
Yeah.
But
wait a minute. Everybody's old.
We both did high school shows, like Lang did Never Have I Ever before this, and it's just like, when you're in a room and a lot of the people are in their early 20s or whatever, not only are they saying things that you're like, wait, what is this? And looking it up, it's like you're pitching things and they're just like, what? Like, that's not
no one
cool.
says that. And like, I remember there was one girl in my writer's room at Never Have They Ever, and she had never heard of Dave Matthews, and I was like, I was so incensed.
He had a hit song last year.
I was like, that was that long ago,
30 years.
And I made her read the lyrics out loud, like do a spoken word performance piece of Ants Go Marching, because I was like,
did other people have heard of Dave Matthews?
Like the elder millennials had heard of it, but like a lot of the younger people were sort of like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, I'm fuming. I was like, I'm not like, is that ringing out like Rolling Stone? Yeah, first like James Agnew, like this. I was like, and like he was around at the turn of the millennium,
and like when I was born.
Yeah, you're like, oh God,
that is so funny. So I watched a show with my partner of 20 years, and I got to say, there was one part of the show that made me think, ooh, we kind of went through something like that a little bit a couple of years ago, kind of thing. Have you gotten that sort of reaction to the show? Because it feels real, and it feels like stuff that we've all been through.
Yes. I've gotten so many texts from friends that the most, I think, that's like, oh, my specifics about Jack and Kate and their fight. And why can't my husband just manage his own food intake? Like my cousin just texted me this the other day. But like I've gotten so many from women and men being like, we watched this all together and afterwards had to have a big talk. Or I think a lot of couples do watch it together and relate to it, which is great.
But there's go ahead.
Even your own husband was like, like at our premiere was like, well, okay.
That banana thing felt pointed. And I was like, that wasn't me. I think it was like Josh and Dylan's joke. But my husband thinks this is like a hit job against him. But it's not. It's all our husband.
Yeah. Everyone in our writers' room, we had this like murderer's row of like the best comedy writers in town, and we just like made them talk about their feelings and their relationships, and everyone was like, I normally we just like come to work and like say like weird things or like make pop culture references, and now I'm just like, every day after work I go home and I just really think about my marriage.
But most of the stuff that I think people are responding to was like, one of the writers, Vali Chandrasekharan, was like, I bought this shirt once and my wife said I wasn't allowed to wear it. And then that's where we got like the hat that Kate hates. Like it was all taken from real stuff.
Well, one of my favorite lines was Kate was talking to Danny about Jack, and she says, I just want him to meet me where I'm at. He's like a bird that hit a window. He's always fucking stunned. And it's just so hysterical. But, I've written on shows, and I did stand up for a long time. And there were times for me that I was concerned about going public with some personal stories because I was afraid that I may hurt someone's feelings. Like Steve and I did a radio show in New York, and I had gotten surgery on my wrist, and the physical therapist that I went to, it was a woman, but she looked just like Bruce Valanche. And it was the oddest thing in the world. So I wanted to talk about it on the air, and I was so afraid that on the off chance that she was going to hear it, and if she didn't know who he was, she would look him up and then see that she really looked like him. Have you ever not used something because you were afraid that maybe someone would feel bad?
Honestly, I think less on this show than on comedy shows. I feel like I'm much more aware of it. And especially in the last 5 years, I'm much more aware of it just because of the internet. I think like people are sensitive, but I think also people will make a huge deal about something and make someone have hurt feelings about a joke. And I think on shows where you're constantly doing jokes and constantly doing pop culture kind of jokes, it's like you have to be very vigilant about, or I have tried to be very vigilant about, like, let's not take shots at some celebrity for no reason, because they will watch it. And even if they don't watch it, someone will tell them on the internet, and they'll be like, why did that show on Peacock come after me? I've done nothing.
And then like 8 years later, when you're like, you know what would be great on this show? And it's like, no, because
something horrible for no reason.
Yeah, they like have been holding that grudge.
But this show, no, because I think we're always like, I don't know, that might come up, but I think we're always kind of operating from places of like,
vulnerability
and we're not kindness towards our spouse ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is life. Like I was on my radio show yesterday, and I mentioned that my mom and her boyfriend have a handicap placard, but they don't really need it at all. And the reason they have it is because they want to be close to the front door of the store. Which
fair enough.
Which is genuine. So I got to say, okay, big spoiler here. If you haven't seen the show, you probably have at this point. Let's just go with that as an assumption. Steve Carell's character, Nick, dies on this show. And I guess it didn't happen in the movie. And it was something that you added for this particular show. Why was it important for the Nick character to die in this show?
Yeah, so basically, I think from the beginning, we wanted this show to have real world stakes. So, we don't have any aliens or serial killers or anything. It's very much like about this specific time in your life. And so we felt like it would be very realistic to have a friend die and to have a group of friends come together and, grieve that friend. And so, for us, it just felt right to have that be the winter of our whole show,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because then everybody in that final episode kind of evaluates who they are, where they are in life, what life actually means, how he fit. Like it causes everybody to kind of reevaluate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that kind of happens in life too. I think it can be a big, and if we were to have a second season, like I think when big things like that happen in life, a birth, a death, it kind of it's always, Ginny wasn't the only thing that scrambles up the dynamic. Like these things are always coming at you, and it's how you and your group of friends kind of adjust to them and come out of them.
Yeah, and I the story of a guy in a group of friends who leaves his relationship, it's always going to be, or a man or a woman leaves, and kind of like breaks up the band, to a certain extent. And the guy always seems to be the bad, that the person who breaks up always seems to be like the bad person.
Yeah.
And what I loved about this is that, you can't, it's hard to fault somebody for falling out of love with somebody, like I've been in relationships that didn't work, and that, after the anger subsided, it was like, he wasn't into it anymore. You know what I mean? I can't hate this person that, he's young enough to like go out and have and meet somebody who's right. And, in the long run, it ended up great for me. So I love, looking at somebody as not being the enemy,
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do with him, because you've seen this trope a million times on TV of a guy who leaves his wife for a younger woman, but we've also all known people like this. And we know couples that get divorced, and, there's one person whose fault it is, but it's like everyone's just trying to be happy. And, and I think like getting to watch him through the year and also getting to the winter where maybe he misses Anne, but I think like also when he's missing his friends, it's like there are consequences to every decision you make, and he doesn't just get to be, cleanly happy. There will be things he lost, and there will be things, Anne gained from this that she doesn't know about yet. But yeah, I think that was the intention. We wanted him to be three-dimensional and not just like a guy you hate.
I want to talk about the acting for a minute. This is different for Tina Fey. This is like there's emotional depth here. I'm used to seeing her doing, unbelievably funny stuff, but this is different for her. Also for Will Forte, different. Steve Carell, this is a different. Talk about sort of these actors and what they were able to create.
Well, I mean, we're so lucky. I mean, the nice thing about the original movie is they like assembled your kind of favorite people. You have Alan Alda married to Carol Burnett. And so when we were trying to cast, the show, we wanted to give that same feel of, oh, these are all my favorite people from other things put together in one group. And all of these people are incredible comedians, but they're all such good actors. I mean, Will Forte was in Nebraska, which was so incredible. And, Tina's done some serious acting, and, Steve Carell is an Oscar nominee, and obviously Coleman Domingo has also been nominated for Oscars. And Carrie Kenny, who we've loved forever because we were huge fans of The State, has kind of done these broad comedy roles. And then she got to flex her acting chops, and she was also insane. I mean, so good. So I think that it was a real blessing to have this cast, because everyone was so emotionally vulnerable and ready to do these heavy lifting serious acting parts, but everyone is also a precision comedy joke slayer.
And we really needed people who were both.
Yeah. So it was so fun to be on set with them, just to see them.
They're just so good. I mean, they make things that are not even funny.
Yeah.
They made our jokes.
What was it always your intention to use somebody from the original film, and was it always going to be Alan Alda?
Yeah, I mean, it was Alan's movie, and so he wrote and directed it, and it was his vision. So doing this, we knew we needed not just legally, but also kind of spiritually. I think we needed the okay from him, his sign off. And he knows Tina, he was on 30 Rock. And so, she had been in touch with him, and she had kind of asked him, would you ever be willing to do a little cameo? Because I think for fans of the original movie, it would just be so special. And, it was so cool for us to get to have him in an episode. And, I mean, I love Carol Burnett. I would love to, if we had another season, to see more people, but it really felt like for the first season, it was like him or nobody. I kind of felt like,
oh, go ahead, Sue. Sorry.
I just to follow up on that. How did you land on who his character was going to be? Because when you see that he ends up being Annie's dad, you see that it was such a perfect choice, because, she kind of crinkles her eyes a little bit, when she laughs.
Give us a call.
And it looks like he really could have been her dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we wanted him to be able to say something poignant and that was funny, to really have an Alan Alda moment and do the thing he does the best, which is give a funny but moving speech. And it felt like in the context of this vow renewal, being her dad would be the best person.
And we also were looking at pictures of them. We're like, they have like a similar head shape. They're both tall. They could be related. And I think it also was like breaking our brains a little that it's like you can't have him be Jack because another guy's named Jack, named to kid. So it had to be not him from the original. And so then, there weren't so many options available to us.
He is so, I just love Alan Alda. And by the way, this reminds me of another 4 seasons, reminds me also of Same Time Next Year. Did you ever see Same Time Next Year?
Talking about that, yes. Yeah.
Because it has that sort of seasons passing, years passing, times passing, which I absolutely, and of course, Ellen Burstyn, I mean, just forget it. She's so good. Did you think about, as you were creating this show, being bingeable? Because I noticed there's a big hook at the end of episodes. Were you thinking, oh yeah, people who watch this are going to consume it as a binge?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think when you're on Netflix and it's all coming out in one fell swoop, like you want to make sure that you hook people and they want to like stay in the world. But yeah, definitely. We want, especially also just because part of the fun of the series is the time jumps and like what's happening.
Where are they next?
Yeah. So we wanted to play with that.
And it's such a departure for us because in network comedy, or traditional comedies, it's like they're really not serialized. Mostly, they're so episodic, and so I've never gotten to really do that before, where it's like at the end of an episode, it's like some big thing happens. You really you kind of tie it up at the end of the episode. So it was sort of a fun challenge and a new challenge for us.
Last thing for you. It seems like there are the pieces for a second season because, Ginny is now pregnant and Anne potentially is involved with Nick's baby there. I mean, have you guys talked about a second season? In your heads, is there a second season?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they let us have a second season, we'd love to do it. And I think we would not do it like an anthology. I think some people wonder because of the structure, but we think like the heart of our show is this core friend group. And I think you would want to see where they go in the next year of their life. So I feel like, we haven't nailed down what it would be. But if we get to do it, yeah, we'd love to do a second season.
Well, I hope there is a second season because I really had fun with the first season. By the way, the characters I cared the most about, and this is interesting, were the women, were Ginny and Anne. And I just thought to myself, having friends that went through similar situations, here are these two women who are both really nice people. It seems like they're really, and yet they're pitted against each other. And in a different universe, they could be friends, right?
Yeah, they're similar. It's they're not that different from each other, but they're in competition because of their circumstances.
So the 4 seasons, all episodes now streaming on Netflix. You're going to love it if you haven't watched it. It's the most bingeable series of the year. Tracey Lange, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks a lot for doing this. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you so much.
There you have it, Tracey and Lange, 4 seasons, terrific show. I actually, I raced through it in probably 2 nights, like back-to-back nights over the course of a weekend. It really, and there is a hook at the end of each episode, right? Where I want to go back to the next, I want to follow through to the next.
It was really probably some of the best cliffhangers I've ever seen in a series.
They really are. Anne, what are you doing here? Bam. And you're like,
right.
Well, I got to know where Anne is or why she's there, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really fun from that perspective, but a terrific show, an amazing cast, and really cool to get those guys on. From going to 30 Rock to this seems like a big transition, but they made it just perfectly. All right, there you have it. There is your Culture Pop podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time on the Culture Pop podcast.